Alrighty then, stop me if you've heard this one before. You say you learned all you needed to know to start playing the game. You've got your dice, your character sheets, and even a group to play with. You've just launched into your first game and the DM throws down some bandits. Should be easy, right? Well, it should have been, but your whole group was wiped out because you couldn't figure out how to work together, or even how to take cover from their arrows. That story is a common one. We've all had our standing in front of a silver dragon without realizing it moments. But no more. From today onwards, you will be a master of the battlefield, and while I can't make your rolls any better, I can help guide you on what moves to make and how to best work together with the other classes and characters to become as successful as you can be. Let's get started. Firstly, the combat sections of D&D are a game more than any other aspect of this game that we all play. They are built partially on chance and partially on skill. That skill being anticipating actions and planning for certain things to occur. And the luck part being the dice, of course. In combat, you have 4 things. On your turn, you have your action, bonus action, and movement, and usually when it's not your turn, you have your reaction. Actions first. They are things like weapon attacks, spells, grappling, dashing, dodging, disengaging, and all sorts of other things. Actions are the big ticket items on your turn, which is why a fighter's action surge is so coveted and worthy of multiclassing for. It's huge. Free actions exist as well, such as interacting with objects like opening a door or chest, switching your weapons out, or talking to your allies, or even taunting your enemies. These are, as the name implies, free to use. If you spend too much time doing these things, however, your DM is likely to say that in order to continue, you gotta spend your action, or your bonus action, because it's taking too much time. You only got 6 seconds, after all. Bonus actions are the little things. They are the least likely to be used, usually. They are usually special things that only certain characters get, like rogues can dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action. Monks can use unarmed strikes or dodge, but the most common use for bonus actions is 2-weapon fighting. When your character has 2 light weapons, they can attack as an action with one, and then attack as a bonus action with the other. This bonus action attack does not get the standard ability score bonus added to its damage. It is just the die roll. Unless you have the 2-weapon fighting style, but whatever. Movement is exactly what it sounds like. Your character has a speed. In all likelihood, that's 25 or 30 feet, and they can move that speed on their turn. They can sub their action to move again, and if they're a rogue or monk, they can also sub their bonus action. A Tabaxi level 2 fighter, level 2 monk can move 320 feet in a single turn. Deal with it. And lastly, in terms of definitions for what your character can do in the game, in combat, on their turn, or in this case, not on their turn. Reactions. Reactions are commonly used for opportunity attacks. That is, when an enemy moves out of your melee range, you can take a swipe at them. Alternatively, you can spend your action on your turn to prepare a conditional reaction, such as, when the goblin gets within range, I'm gonna shoot him with my bow. You can then take that reaction when the trigger occurs, or you can still make an opportunity attack if another creature rushes past you, giving up your chance to snipe that gobbo. You get your reaction back at the start of your turn, meaning you might be able to use it on your turn if the opportunity arises, meaning that you wouldn't have it for the entire round until the start of your next turn. Secondly, back to the outline of this video. This game can be changed at any moment. The rules flipped on their head or thrown out entirely. They are not set in stone. Your DM controls this balance, so depending on what they are like, your results may vary. But now let's go over how I recommend you take battles from here on out, from a few different perspectives. The biggest thing I can say to you, to urge you to do, is to try and get the best understanding of your surroundings before you act. Ask what things are, look around, and think about what things in that environment your character can use to their advantage. Ledges, walls, cover, vantage points, objects to drop, break, or throw, traps you can use to turn on the guys who set them for you. Everything is up for grabs. Imagine that you're there, in your character's shoes. What would you do? Stop looking at your sheet. What would you do? Next, understand your character and everything, and I mean everything, that they can do. Know how many spells they can cast, what their most optimal weapons are, what kind of range they're most effective at. Think about the biggest things you can reliably do, and do them as often as you can. This next bit is going to be the most vague, and it will continue on from that last point. I don't know your character, but basically, write your sheets in a way that properly displays all of that information I just talked about to you at a glance. What you've got and how many times you can use it. Focus on balancing your abilities' uses, knowing when their best times are and when they won't work and you can straight up ignore them. Above all else, if you do not understand who you're playing, you will not be able to succeed in combat. So, understand your character. Now, for battle strategies. For one-on-one fights, your character versus one enemy, it's a dance. You give and you take. Ask your DM how they look if they're failing to describe it, to get a sense about how you're doing against them. Consider what things you're willing to use, what one-time magic items you have, potions, spells, pocket sand, because, oh yeah, you should be fighting dirty. Toss blankets at invisible enemies, throw dust in the goblin chief's eyes, set fire to the dryad, and charm, frighten, deafen, blind, and petrify them as fast as you can. If there is one thing left in your way, you can cut loose. For larger battles, specifically those filled with a lot of low hit point minions, stay back, everyone, even the barbarian. Just pick them off one at a time. Don't move in unless you have to. Stay back. You need to conserve in these situations because, in all likelihood, things will get much worse later on, and being surrounded and nickel and dime to death is a terrible way to go. It feels bad as a player, and even if they don't do that much damage, 8 attacks per every 1 or 2 of yours sucks, and it goes quick. When facing flying foes, or others who move in ways you can't follow, such as swimming, teleporting, or going invisible, cover and control are your friends. Ropes and spells like Skybind are very, very useful in wrangling enemies back down to you. You can always ask your DM to target or damage limbs, to grapple creatures, to pull them down, and to use parts of your turn to spot them and help your allies. Your actions are not limited to attack or don't. For groups meant to counter yours, another party, or a collection of powerful foes intended to stop you, it's best to try and suss out what their gimmicks are, because oh yeah, they all got a gimmick. If you see a spellcaster, pair them with a spellcaster. Or switch it up and pair your barbarian with their spellcaster. The danger there is that spells that target mental saves will annihilate a barbarian, but your caster can probably just beat them or counterspell them. So there's that. And there's also the other side. Your barbarian cannot be counterspelled by them. I mean, the guy can try, but Axe don't care. If they try to separate you, don't let them. And whatever you do, don't forget about any of them. Enemy parties are the hardest things in the game to counter, because oftentimes the DM will build them specifically to counter you. Hopefully they do so in an interesting way and not just to foil you. DMs, watch our video from a few weeks ago to get some help avoiding that kind of mentality. I'll have it linked right up there. And lastly, for BBEGs, the fire-breathing devil or the acidic ooze-formed demon lord. Spread out. Tackle them from behind cover with big attacks that are worthy of a foe so strong. The less chances it gets to do its big attacks, its bombs and its fire breaths, sword slashes and lava pit openings, the better. And the fewer of you that it can target at a time, the better. That's why I suggest spreading out. Usually, BBEGs have big area effect attacks, and so you'll want to stay apart. Don't form lines. That's how you get lightning breathed. And now for rapid fire class-based combat tips. For all classes, choose the things that deal the most damage. Ideally those with the best average damages for your sort of attacking. So if you're playing a dex-based character, you should do things that are dex-related. If you're doing a strength character, you should do strength-related things. It would make very much sense for you to do the other way. However, I've seen a lot of people try, and they don't have fun because they never hit. For instance, Barbarians should always use a greatsword instead of a great axe, and Rangers should use a heavy crossbow instead of a longbow, if they also have the crossbow expert feat past level 5. There's a lot of asterisks on that one, but you get me. Basically, don't just take what sounds cool, take what will work best. For spellcasters, predominantly Bards, Sorcerers, Warlocks, and Wizards, making sure you're economizing your spells is one of the most important things you can do. Do not throw them away too early in the day, and always leave one big slot for the end, just in case. Clerics and Druids should always keep a 3rd level open for Revivify, and Paladins should keep nothing. Burn those babies on smites all day long. The faster you end fights, the faster you can get to your next long rest. And Paladins are probably the one class where I think conservation doesn't matter. Though, don't go wasting smites where they're not needed, like the aforementioned tiny archer minions from 10 minutes ago or whatever. Rogues, monks, and all of their sneaky characters do not hesitate to dip and sneak up from behind in a fight. Make sure you're looking around and trying to use your environment to your benefit. Barbarians, you're tanks. Leap in front of others. Use tables and chairs to block doors. Throw smaller enemies, and remember, your party's got your back. You are the only one allowed to regularly go down because that is what you're expected to do. You're the front line. Act like it. Artificers, Rangers, and all of the classes that I have and haven't mentioned yet. It is very important that everyone tries to play as smart as they can and support their teams. See what others need, anticipate their needs. You can take the time to assess the field at the start of your turn. You don't have to act right away. Even if you haven't been paying attention, just listen to the problems that are currently being talked about. Get good at spotting the less obvious ones, and be aware. Remember what you can do and solve the issues facing you. You can do this. Thank you all for watching, everyone. I hope this video was helpful and made you more comfortable in combat, more ready and able to take breaths, look around, ask for help, and play a game more so than roleplay and adventure. Combat is a game. Win it. We'll see you all next time with a comprehensive tutorial on how magic works in D&D and how to best build your spellcaster. Bye!